say a couple of things. I was making notes, and I love your comment about having the host kits out on the coffee table. If I could take it one step further, he does the 9x13 manila. How about having 9x13 manila host kits and 9x13 white recruiting kits? So you have them all laid out, and they are able to pick what they want up, one or both, and bring it to the full service checkout. And by the way, the full service checkout is really where your relationship starts. I mean, the sale closes and the relationship opens. And you really want to have that relationship starting at that full service checkout. Because you announce at your cooking shows all the great things that you're offering, but you're announcing. It's like seeing the invitation to a wedding in the newspaper of your best friend and thinking that you're going to be invited. It's not until you get the invitation that you get to go to the wedding. So every time you announce something at your cooking show and tell everybody how great they're going to have a fun show with their friends, that's announcing. So at the full service checkout, you say, now tell me, I love what you've purchased, and I validate what they purchased, because I sell a lot of Magic Pots full price. And I validate and say, oh my gosh, when your husband tastes that chicken in 29 minutes and knows that it cost you less than if you brought it home from the grocery store and it's far healthier, he's going to absolutely love the fact that you spent this money. So I validate that cost. But the other thing I do is then I say, okay, well, let's talk about what you left behind. Because I have next month open with a couple dates, and I'd love to let you get the rest of the things that you want. So I automatically, like Michael, assume they left things behind, which they do, and I automatically assume they're going to do a cooking show. The last thing I want to say, and these are just little notes I wrote as people were talking, is you do own that cooking show. You own the opportunity and responsibility to have that host have the most successful show he or she is going to have. If it cancels, it's your fault. No, it's absolutely true. If that show cancels, it's because you have not connected with her to her friends. Because once you get that show, it's all about then what you want to experience with your friends. I can't wait to meet your friends. What recipes are we going to make for your friends? What attendance only special are you going to make? So when you say to her, and I'm going to send your invitations out, I don't say, would you like me to? It's like, this is what I do for you. I'll be sending your invitations out. And so it's with power that you tell them this is a service that you provide, and you never ever back down. Because without that invitation list, you have no show, right? So you've really got to have that. And yes, there are multiple ways you'll invite, but notice I say multiple ways. And I never mention Facebook as the first way, right? No. It's always, there's going to be people that expect to see that invitation show up in their mailbox. They're going to walk back and they're going to go through their mail, and all of a sudden there's that invitation. They're going to pull it out and they're going to get excited. They're going to put it on their refrigerator. The other type of individual are your email buddies. And they're the ones that you chat with all the time over email. Or maybe you have coworkers. So the invitation will go out that way also. And by the way, are you on Facebook? Okay, well, we can create an event if you'd like. But I don't start with a Facebook event because I'll be very honest. Let me read a couple things. You're in front of people. Love drives to the recipe night. Someone else mentioned the fact that she gets her, I apologize, you were fabulous, I can't remember your name. She has her team people showing up at the meeting. Marta met somebody at the restaurant and full service checkout. What's the common theme between all five of these? Face to face, the relationship. And I have to say this, after 19 years, your cooking show is magical. Everything happens at that cooking show. I do about 10 cooking shows a month, and I do about 10 to 12 catalog shows a month. I can't tell you that there's that connection with my catalog show hosts. They do a great job selling the products, but there's not that relationship. I don't get referrals, right? I get great sales, I get no referrals. So it happens at the cooking show. So I'm just going to give you a couple of tips that you can take back and teach your team to do. And it starts with something as simple as partnering with your host with your recipe. I like to bring most of the ingredients But I do say to her, now would you like to go ahead and pick up some Cool Whip for me? And you know what, let's go ahead and do that brownie that in the deep cover bake. Does that sound okay? If you can go ahead and get a brownie box for me, it doesn't matter what brand. Now the brownie comes already prepared, mixed up in my deep cover baker, and I just bring the brownie box back home. The Cool Whip. I can't tell you how many times I've been to a cooking show and somebody said, wait a minute, you're gonna do the grocery shopping? And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm doing a recipe. Why would I send you to the grocery store for my recipe? Because most of the time I do choose the recipe and I ask her if she'd like me to do that. So I will partner with her to keep the cost down a little bit, but I will not send her to the grocery store with an ingredient list. Because quite honestly, in this day and age, most people work outside the home. So you're sending them to the grocery store and they're probably not going to remember it when they do their grocery shopping. They're going to make a special trip just for your ingredients. So my suggestion is partner with her and have her pick up something that's very simple to be able to pick up. Say, you know, if I could just have a few minutes of your time, I just want to tell you a couple things. Well, I hear things in the background, right? And I knew she wasn't paying attention to me, but I needed to tell her some things. So now I love the fact that they're over email, we'll text, we'll do cell, but I find out from that host how is the best way that we communicate. And I'll tell her, you're going to hear from me a lot. And it doesn't mean you have to always respond, you just know that I'm always thinking of you. And that's the relationship I start with my host. Because it's important that she believes that I have her best interest or his best interest. So I think it's really important. The other thing to keep in mind is 80% of consultants, how do they come to the company? Hosting. So if you want that consultant to be really engaged with you before you even sign her, you're engaged with her as the host or with him as the host. That relationship is something that when he or she decides to become a consultant, she would want to go or he would want to come back to you. Again, that happens during the partnering phase leading up to that cooking show. Let me see. And I told you about, again, I just always use her friends' names. I can't wait to meet your friends. Let's decide what to feed your friends. What attendance only special should we do for your friends? And she's going to be telling her friends, oh my gosh, Kathy and I talked last night and she's going to be doing this recipe for you. For you. And again, that's why you won't get cancellations, because she will want to have it for her friends. I think it's important also that you bring the products associated with the recipe and you do some cross-selling. Don't bring products that you have no intentions of selling, or using, I should say, because if someone says to you, you know what, you don't have that food chopper on the table. And I'm like, you know what, I don't, because I'm going to use the manual food processor. Anybody here have that food chopper? And somebody else raises their hand and I'm like, excuse me, okay, so what's your name? Now, I don't use name tags. I'm quite honestly lucky to get catalogs in my tote bag. So name tags would probably never be remembered. But I always say, what's your name? And then I'll all of a sudden have a conversation with that person. And I'll say, so you use the food chopper, have you tried the manual food processor? Do you know about it? You don't? Oh my gosh, you're gonna love it. And I'll tell you something, when you do a cooking show, you are gonna do a cooking show, right? Yep, she is, okay. So, and for some of you, yeah, so I automatically start that relationship with that individual. And I have about 5 or 6 people. And you know what you're teaching your team? That it's about communicating, conversation. I teach my team that when they show up, they don't put their apron on until they do their cooking show. And then I'll talk about the products. What they do is they make that engaging conversation with individuals to find out later on in the cooking show what they can bring back up. You know what, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, but I couldn't help it over here that your child goes to preschool and you're starting back to work, correct? I'm going to share some great recipes for a family meal. So again, I've remembered something she said, and I'll draw it into the conversation. And you want to teach your consultants that way, because what they'll do is, as soon as that conversation gets back and forth, there's a two-way conversation, all of a sudden, it's not them standing up demonstrating. It's they're actually making relationships with those individuals during the show. And that is really, really huge. I also teach my consultants that you think ahead about the people that are at the show and what you can do to help them. Something as simple as your lap boards. These are 3-ring binders, and I specifically have my catalog first. Because we don't start our cooking shows on time, and I want those individuals that are sitting there waiting for us to start, maybe one or two of them are there, to be leafing through the catalog, and I acknowledge them. I'll say, no, I couldn't help but notice, what's your name? I couldn't help but notice, Mary, that you were leafing through the catalog. Tell me what you loved about what's in that new catalog. What did you find there? And so Mary tells me, and I say, you know, Mary, in a few minutes I'm going to show it, and I'm going to come back to you, and maybe you can just help me out a little bit. Would that be okay? Oh my gosh, and you know what? If you're looking for a part-time job, you'd be great at it. Yeah, okay. So again, now I'm bringing somebody into the conversation, but make sure you have these available because they'll start talking amongst themselves. The other thing I do, and I feel very strongly about this, is I have an alphabetized sheet. And I take them into their shopping experience online, and I say, how many of you, when you shop online, do you put things in the cart that you have no intention of buying? But you store them there because if not, you're like, oh my gosh, maybe I did want that red purse. And I'm a purse person, so I'm always using the analogy of purses. So I've got 12 purses. Now ladies, I'm not going to buy 12 purses, but they're in that shopping cart so I can think about them and decide what I'm going to purchase later. So this is your shopping cart. Every product I use, I want you to find it on here in circle. And it's in alphabetical order, so unless you have trouble with the alphabet, this is no problem at all. And they do circle. I have people say to me, they don't circle. And I'm like, really? So what you do is just say, okay, now you're definitely going to want to circle this next product. And then the nice thing about this is, at the end, you say, how many of you found that you're going to buy everything that you circled? Of course not. Dean would love you, my host will love you, but what you're going to find is the rest of these things you'll get at your own cooking show. So buy what you can this evening, and then all these other circles, when you come to my full service checkout, we'll schedule a show so you don't have to wait 60, 90 days for somebody else to have a cooking show. You'll get them at your own cooking show. So again, use this alphabetized sheet. I also take something like the stainless steel bowls, and I have them mark it with an H. So strategically use them as booking tools. Because what does an H stand for? Host, half price. And I say to them, do you know what an H stands for? I don't tell them. And then I ask solicit answers. What do you think an H stands for? And you get all kinds of answers. And I said, well, those are good. But when you host your show, you're going to get it at half price. Does that sound even better? So again, make sure you strategically use it. And then I don't introduce the sales receipt until the very end. And I said, unfortunately, this is when you have to tell me where you, or how much money you're going to owe me. But you also tell me where you live, best number to call, and then I tell them that we'll complete it together at the full service checkout. So this strategically starts my cooking show. I mean, I tell them why they need this and why they're going to use it. I also make up the cookbook, the Magic Pot cookbook for all my hosts. And when I get ready after I finish demonstrating the Magic Pot, I turn the cookbook over and I said, how many of you remember what you did with yearbooks? You always wrote in the yearbooks, didn't you? And I said, well, tonight we're going to go ahead and pretend this is your yearbook, and you're going to write love notes for your host. So on the back of this is all the people that were at the show writing love notes to her. So we just hand it around. And everybody that schedules a cooking show gets one of these Magic Pot cookbooks. It costs you $3.75. So it's such a great investment because think about the feeling she's getting as she's seeing that walk around the room and be able to have everybody, write it and sample it. Ask questions. That's the other thing, is really teach your team just to ask questions. Most of the time, your new consultants are so nervous because they don't know what to say. And if they start out asking, how many of you, have you ever, did you know, do you struggle, are you finding, and you ask those type of questions and you wait for an answer. And there's always one or two or three people that you're going to find that they're going to engage with, and that's probably going to be their next booking. And most likely, because they've made that connection early on, it's their next consultant because that connection has been made. So I think that's really critical also. All right, so that's pretty much what I wanted to teach you guys about, is just making sure that you have it set up at your cooking show where you have it strategically designed that relationship is going on throughout the entire show. Yes, we do sell products, but most importantly, as Michael has said, these products serve a need. And as long as you can teach them that need, you've gone into their hearts and you've just squeezed it. And then they're going to be more apt to say, I do need that, and I do want to have that need satisfied by you. And again, make sure you offer that full service checkout, because I have to tell you, That is the most powerful and most look forward part of my cooking show. I can't wait to get to that full service checkout, to sit with that person and look them in the eye and talk to them about their experience, and then take them on the next experience they're gonna have with me. So thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it.